What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka Toe Tag and Tambo. Back for a different edition. We're going Tuesdays now with the Run Pure Sports Show for PGA. We're going to do this for the swing season, same time every week. To get the whole booth in here, have everyone ready to go. So we just wanted to set it up this week, start strong. We got the Butterfield, the Bermuda Championship. I've already heard, I'm going to steal the joke. Someone called it the Gutterfield. It makes a lot of sense when Rob Bolton sends out, I believe, 16, maybe it's now up to 17 updates of guys that are withdrawing. They literally ran out of alternates. You can't beat it. It's going to be a great week for us. We're going to grind it. We're going to pick winners. Bring in my two guys here. I got Snyder and I got Uncle T. I'll start with you, Snyder. What's going on this week, my man?
Hey, I'm just looking to break this down. I mean, this isn't the best of fields, but I mean, with a little bit of research here, I feel like we could have an edge here. Had a solid week last week. I returned pretty good profit. Nothing great, but it was a solid week. Ready to dive into this Butterfield.
Yeah, Butterfield, man. I love it. My guy Kenny Kim on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast always has a butterfish story that people love hearing, and it's a great one. But him and I talked, and on our podcast, I'm going on 2 weeks in a row. I had the Rory winner, and people had him. 20-1 was just for me an auto bet. And then last week, I know it was more of a community win, but back-to-back winners in the bets column. Got the Hideki Matsuyama pick in Japan at the Zozo. So you love to see that. My main man, though, Uncle T. I'm going to call you Big T 3 times tonight, most likely. That's what I always do. But maybe it's ship season like Big T. He's over there right now. If you guys haven't checked out RPS, get over there. We've still got the code running, RPS NBA 15. You can get signed up, get yourself 15% off for life. Big T is on 3 nights in a row shipping Showdown slate. Some may have missed the original on MLB, but he shipped the MLB slate with his core. Then he shipped back-to-back in NFL. But Uncle T, my man, how you doing this evening?
Yeah, doing great. Always good to be back on with you, Tambo, and really looking forward to this new setup here, like you mentioned, for the fall swing. Obviously, the tournament's prize pools, we can still get in there, make some money, pick some winners for everybody. But obviously, the fields are a lot lighter, through the next couple months. So really like this setup. Get to still work with Tambo, obviously. Bring in Snyder, who, I always like doing shows with Snyder. Him and I go back and forth quite a bit during the week. So, no, really looking forward to it. Again, Snyder kind of, really stole the thunder right out of the gate, though, because this tournament, again, we always talk about it, Tambo, like even the lighter fields, we still like to dig in because we love the game of golf. We love watching DFS golf, love it. Man, it's really testing our patience this week because this field really is bad. But again, it's still fun. It's still 4 days of golf. It's still, we can still have, a nice sweat, and there's still some nice price pools on the site. So no, really looking forward to this. And, maybe like you said, you had a little bit of Matsuyama last week, I guess. So you're on a little bit of a heater, and maybe we can continue it again this week.
Yeah, I like it. And I think the biggest point you brought up is not, everyone out there says, oh, we'll have an edge. Sure, we're going to try and give you an edge and pick winners. And everyone says, oh, but the field sucks and all this. But you nailed it, Uncle T. The pools don't suck. You can still win big money. Someone is going to pull in 6 figures this week from the Butterfield at, the Bermuda Championship. So do what you got to do. If you don't like it, don't be here. I just think that's the main thing for me. I'm playing because we're degenerates. I am personally. I love to play in these things. I'm not going to play maybe my normal bankroll allotment, but I'll still have plenty of lineups out there, MMEing, full strategy put into it. We'll talk about that stuff as we go through, maybe some rules, some groups, whatever it might be, talking about what some of the chalk might be. And then maybe if one of you guys, I'm not sure if we can get the latest ownership up as we go along, we can talk about some of that, but some of it's kind of easy to tell as well, I think, as we roll through. But we're going to do it like always. We're going to get a little course preview from my man Snyder. We're going to go through, talk about the tiers, going down through them, and then just some general strategy. I know Uncle T brings it, from a different perspective, maybe 1, 3, 5 lineups, whatever it might be. We're going to bring it from 50 to 150, talking MME. So you guys got that. The cash, you got to get over to RPS. We talked about it already. Use the code RPS NBA 15. It's all sports for one price, 15% off for life. That's for our cores, the cash chart, everything like that. If you guys are playing different styles across the board. So definitely check that out. But Snyder, if you want to open us up, man, talk to us a little bit about this course. Been here a couple times, but maybe you can run us down on what we're looking at this week.
Yeah, this is a shorter course here. It's going to be a par 71. It's going to measure at right around 6,828 yards, which is going to be pretty short for normal times that we see. The weather is going to be pretty interesting this week, as there's a good chance of rain for a couple of the days, even the days leading up to as well. The wind's going to be out there for sure. It's going to be in that 15 to 20 mile per hour ranges for the most part. So we could have some possible wave advantages here. We need to look at more closer to the lock as the week progresses. Bermuda grass greens here. It's going to be more of a driving accuracy over driving distance track here with the shorter course. And the fairways gained has been a key stat here for the last couple of years. And this is a weaker type event, but this is a huge event for some of these guys, as some of these guys, if they can get first, second, third, I mean, the points still transfer over. I mean, they're going to carry over these points. It may even take them into the playoffs if they can get a top finish here, which is going to be huge for some of these guys that don't normally get a chance to play in some of these events. So be looking towards that, and mainly just looking for good ball strikers and guys that can hit fairways.
Yeah, I agree. The fairways are key this week. You know, the history is not much here, but at least there's a little bit. So I have to see how that plays out. But I think you nailed it. When we talk about this all the time in these swing season events, but when we get to the later stuff in the season and you get to the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and you're like, how the hell is this guy here? Well, remember back at the Bermuda Championship when he crushed? Yeah, you probably don't, but that's what happened, and that's why he's here. So there is a lot of motivation factors. The hard part is that the motivation factors are for everyone because the field is a little bit weaker, but it's a lot of up and comers and guys that we're going to talk about as we go throughout. So Uncle T, flip it to you real quick. Just any real thoughts on the week, general sort of grand scheme overview, and maybe any strategy thoughts that you have as far as ownership, just anything in general that you want to talk about here.
Yeah, just looking in initially, and we talked a little bit pre-show, you know, when you get down into this type of a field underneath 7K, we usually do a pretty good job of, finding a lot of guys down there that you could play, depending on if you want to go stars and scrubs on, again, a regular field event or a regular strength of field event, I should say. This week, again, we're going to have a lot of unknowns under 7K, right? There is a load of them. I mean, and, based off of what we're going to go through when we start at the 10K, again, those are obviously known guys that we know, but, we're not used to seeing some of these guys up in that 9,500 and above range. So, for me initially here, I almost going to maybe gear towards maybe more of a balance build and see what kind of lineups I can, kind of formulate. Usually I'm, 5, 6, 7 lineup guy. I'm probably going to back way off this week, even off of that. Maybe just have 3 builds this week. Obviously, we'll have the tiers and the cores and the write-ups on the site like we always do. One other thing to mention too, guys, that you guys may have already seen, and even for the people that are listening, I don't think there's a shot tracker this week, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. I think it just really stinks that you don't have the shot tracker with the golf coverage live on TV. That I think really sucks, to be quite honest, for as good a golf product as golf could be. Not to have, the live, I think the golf tournament should all be live. I think with the Golf Channel, and I don't want to get off on a tangent before we even start here, but last weekend, even though it was over in Japan, obviously the time difference, you weren't able to really even catch any golf. So it really wasn't very enjoyable for me last week. This week, obviously, we're going to get back in and watch some live golf, but no shot tracker this week. A little bit disappointing for me.
It makes it tougher. And by the way, when we do get to the regular season, we're going to go back to our Tuesday and Wednesday show. I know on top of that too, I know me and Snyder are going to be doing some Showdown stuff together, get even more stuff rolling. And you just made me think of that when you talked about it with the shot tracker. Obviously that helps a lot with sort of picking guys there and finding that. But definitely, like you said, I like weeks like this. I think there is going to be some strategy to play into it. And the biggest piece for me, at least from strategy perspective, and why you'll see some sort of random guys in my pool this week when we go through it, is the tee times and the potential wave advantage. We'll see. And again, as of right now, you don't really know what that looks like, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of wind that was out there today. There's some wind tomorrow, quite a bit actually. Thursday, it looks to die down a little bit, but we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, it can change on a dime. And for me, the way I go about it is I'll usually build, let's say you got 50 lineups, maybe I'll get 25 one way, 25 the other. But sometimes, if I'm going 150, I'll do it like 100 the way I think is going to have the advantage, and then 50 the way just the other way, because it can flip on a dime. We see it in places like Texas, all across the, really any of the type of times where you've got wind, or sorry, any of those events in Texas, you've got the wind in play. I like to utilize this strategy. And over here, most definitely coastal, Bermuda, everything that we've got going on, I think the wind could play a bigger factor than you may suspect. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. We'll be in Discord, in the premium Discord over at RPS tomorrow all day. So that's why I wanted to get the show out now. It's a free show. People can go back and watch it, check it out. And then anybody who joins with that code RPSNBA15 can definitely go in the Discord and check it out, hop on, ask questions as the wind plays out. Other thing, if you guys haven't hit the like button, please do that now. Helps us out a ton. Hit the subscribe button. Check us out. We've got so many free shows and just so much content in general. Talk about it all the time. Talked about the Showdown content earlier, everything that goes with it. There's just a lot of stuff going on here at Run Pure Sports. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Snyder, I'll kick it back to you. You talked about some of the course. You talked about the stats, that sort of thing. Let's go right up top. Let's start getting into it here. And again, if you have any strategy or anything else like that that plays into it, by all means, bring it up. Stars and scrubs with the field getting shorter and shorter by the minute, more guys making the cut, so on and so forth. Maybe that's your avenue that you want to go. But just in general, the 10K range, Seamus Power right up to Matthew Fitzpatrick. What are you doing up here in this upper 5-figure range?
Yeah, there's a couple guys I have interest in here. First off, Matthew Fitzpatrick. He did come off a win on the Euro, but his short game was lights out when he won. He won that event at -6. I just don't feel like he has the firepower to compete in a birdie fest like this. He did only hit 57% of his greens and regs in that event also, and the 11K price tag makes him just an easy fade for me here, as I feel a lot of people will start their builds with him possibly, as he's one of the most well-known names here. So I think I'm just going to be off of him there. Bezuidenhout, I feel he doesn't have the firepower here as well to win this birdie fest. He's pretty good at like these mid-range events where he needs to score, like -8 to -12 to win or something like that. He can do well in. Not really on him either. I mean, the two guys I will have quite a bit of interest in are Mito Pereira. I've been on him since he came onto the tour. He's been the horse I've been riding. I'm going to continue to ride him. I feel like this could be his breakout win here. We've seen guys like Hadwin win similar events to this. Mito's one of those type of guys I relate to, like a Hadwin type. I think he could win here. This could be that first breakout win he's looking for. He ranks #1 in ball striking this event. Should smash here. He's been hitting 80% of greens and regulation in his last 3 events. Just needs that putter to come around. I mean, that's what really holds him back. But if he gets that putter rolling here, I mean, he could light this place up pretty good. Another guy I've been on, Seamus Power. He's been solid, 3 top 10s, including a win in his last 7 events. Coming off that 21st place at the Shriners, I think we could see Power contend here and maybe even win again. We saw him win that short field event, that weaker field at the Barbasol. I think we could see a carbon copy of that this week. So my 2 guys I'm mainly looking at this week is just going to be Seamus Power and Meter, kind of more towards the bottom of that range, mid-tier to bottom of that range, as I'm looking to do more of like an even field build for most of my lineups this week.
Yeah, I like both of those guys. I'll talk about them in a second. Uncle T, I'll give you a chance to roll out here. And then if you've got any thoughts as it pertains to ownership too, if you want to roll that out, that's fine as well. What are you doing up here at the top?
Yeah, similar comments to Schneider. We got the same feeling about Fitzpatrick. I'm just generally a guy that, coming off a win, overseas, on the Euro Tour, if you will. It was a good win for him. He played well. I'm not usually a Fitzpatrick guy anyway, though, but the one thing that does concern me a little bit, guys, is this course. They kind of compare it to maybe a Harbor Town type of a golf course where Fitzpatrick plays pretty well. So I am a little bit worried about that. I'm showing about 23 or 24% ownership on Fitzpatrick. He's going to be one of the 2 or 3 highest owned guys, at least from what I can see. Schneider, you can tell different here in a minute. So that's an easy fade for me. I shouldn't say easy fade. It's going to be a fade. I'm not saying it's an easy one, but Bezuidenhout, though, I do have a little bit of a different take. I am going to go to him here. I just think that I'm pretty sure he's made 22, 23 straight cuts going all the way back, as far as the beginning of this year almost, or the end of last year. He's just a solid golfer, and clearly it's a sticker shock seeing him as the second highest priced guy, but he's got a 5th place finish. What was that at the BMW, I believe? The BMW about a month and a half ago. He's rested, hasn't played in about 5 weeks. So I do have some interest in Bezuidenhout. Pereira, I also like Schneider. I've been on him quite a bit since he's come on to the tour, and I agree with him. Schneider and I are arm in arm so far because I do think he has a great chance of winning this golf tournament this week. So do have some interest there. Patrick Reed, I just can't do it. It's one of the easier fades I've got. 10-4, no thanks. If he was maybe, in the low 9Ks this week in this type of field, which he wouldn't be just because of his name, but if he was, I'd maybe have a little bit of interest. But Seamus Power is probably my number one guy in this area. He crushes these weaker field, shorter track tournaments. And Seamus Power is one of them guys, Tambo, you and I talked about on this show quite a bit. He's one of them guys that just seems like he's gaining more and more confidence. And I'm more of a field player when it comes to golf. I don't have all of the, all of the stats on, Bermuda and this and that. I'm a field player on DFS golf for the most part. I'm a course history or a current form guy for the most part. I factor other things in. But I like what I see out of Seamus Power. And in these shorter fields, smaller, I shouldn't say shorter fields, weaker fields and shorter courses, I really like me some Seamus Power this week.
Yeah, I like Seamus Power quite a bit. I think it's, most people think of him, I guess, as a little bit of a bomber or an off the tee guy. But when you go back and look, actually, the fairways hit aren't terrible. When you go into, a stroke skin approach, last 50 rounds looks solid. The shorter par fours, which there's a lot of them here, he absolutely crushes. And that's sort of what you want. And then you think about a natural grinder. Most guys are out of it in that playoff when he played JT Poston in the Barbasol. This guy's making the bunker shot to put the pressure back on Poston and then going on to take it down. So I think that's something to look at. Like him quite a bit. Mito always, I always like Mito. I've been on him sort of with Snyder, as he said, but the putter does worry me a little bit. And I think the popularity there, I bet him this week. I'm still debating sort of where I'm at with that. I'm going to, look at it a little bit more, but I'm with you guys on the Fitzpatrick play. To me, and this can tie into the rest of the top up here for me, but the strategy for me in tournaments like this, listen, these guys are priced this way for a reason. I know there's sticker shock. There's going to be sticker shock all the way down of these price tags. But what I'll say is this, you look at sort of some of the guys up here and you think about, Fitzpatrick, he just won. He's the better name, all this, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's another Englishman just down the board a little bit, a former Masters champion named Danny Willett. And I'm not putting my fork in and saying this is the guy you got to have. I'm just saying an example of, you could literally just leave the money, build your best Matthew Fitzpatrick lineup, take him out, plug in Danny Willett. Danny Willett just won the Alfred Dunhill's Links over guys like I had it up here, Terrell Hatton, Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, all these names, Alex Noren, all guys that are capable and good golfers, great golfers actually, and he's beaten them in that tournament. This guy's a former Masters champion, just an example where you can just leave money at the table, on the table in these events, and I think that's a strategy that I'm doing up here. For sure, Seamus Power is my favorite. I'm not sure how sneaky he'll be by the time Lock gets there. I love in the chat, Jay Steele said he's sneaky. I think so. I thought so. I'm not so sure now, but I love Mindcrime. Busenhauser. Shout out to JSU. That's his boy. And he remembers and talks about that. So I love that. Yeah, with you guys. Any thoughts from either of you? Snyder, I'll kick with you on Patrick Reed.
I don't think I can play him here. I mean, I was on him a little bit to start the year, but I mean, his form has just been out of control. I mean, I just can't imagine paying that price tag for him here. I mean, I realize he's probably the best raw talent here. I mean, and I just can't click the name though.
Uncle T?
Yeah, I mentioned a minute ago, hard pass, but I will say this about Reed, guys, is doesn't it say quite a bit about where he's at with his game right now leading into this new season, that he is playing a late October event on the swing season here, or fall season, however you want to word it, in a field like this. And it's not a knock on him. It's just, I think it tells you more about where his game is and where he thinks his game is, more importantly. And that doesn't mean that he's not going to go out and maybe play well this week. I wouldn't be shocked if he contended, not at all. But for this price tag, for DFS purposes, I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's tough to say. That's why, and I know you mentioned, but I just thought I'd ask, because one thing you just brought up was key for me, is like, it's one of the two. It's either he feels good and he really thinks he can ship the thing, and that's why he's here. Why not take down a quick win to prove himself after the Ryder Cup snub? Now, I know he was injured and everything that goes with it, but just a way to show out. And then the other way, though, is to your point, Uncle T, it's let me figure some stuff out. Let me get right. I remember Matt Wolf mentioning this, not saying this is where Patrick Reed is. It'd be all speculation, but, we love a good narrative or thought process around it, is maybe, like Matt Wolf had said, I wanted to play in something like the U.S. Open because if I played shitty, so does everybody else. It's a tough tournament. It doesn't look as bad if I shoot an 80 there because it's tough going. And same sort of thing here, where we've got maybe Reed, he can play bad and still look pretty good in an event like this. I don't think I'm going to go there. I kind of liked him a little bit more coming in, to yesterday, when I first did the podcast with Kenny. I'm big on Seamus Power, but I think I'll just go down to this next range. And Uncle T, I'll start with you on this one. We got Hayden Buckley. Vegas loves him. Hayden Buckley all the way down to Patrick Rogers at 9K. What do you got?
Yeah, I'll start out with the guy that you mentioned towards your closing of the top range, which is Danny Willett. And just to kind of correlate what you were saying. So if ownership wise, I'm showing from the 9K range up, I'm showing Willett is the lowest owned guy of that whole group at maybe 7, almost 8% is all on him. So if you want to play that ownership game with, like you said, maybe a similar type player in Matt Fitzpatrick over Willett, why not take not only the discount in price, but how about the discount in ownership? So I do have Willett and did have Willett marked before you mentioned that. So I'm glad you brought that up. I do have a little bit of interest there. Going back up to the top of the range, I'm not going to have as much interest in the top part of this 9K range as I will the bottom. Buckley obviously is, again, major sticker shock. 9,900. He's been playing obviously great. He's going to be a trendy kind of pick. I'm only seeing him about 13% ownership. He's a good play if you want to play him, just not going to be for me this week. Schwab is another guy I've played a little bit recently, and he's a solid golfer. I do have a little bit of interest there, but Ramey, no thanks. Adam Hadwin, again, another guy that is a steady golfer. I like to target him necessarily on less than driver courses, smaller, shorter type tracks. Adam Hadwin, he's going to carry some ownership, but I do like Adam Hadwin this week. I already mentioned Willett. The other guy I really like quite a bit is the Canadian here, Tambo, Taylor Pendrith. I know you and I are kind of high on him, and I like this guy. I don't think we've seen obviously anywhere near his full potential in any of these tournaments. He's not been able to put 4 rounds together, but I really like this guy, and he will definitely be in my pool. So the 9K range, I'm probably looking at the lower range with Hadwin, Willett, and Pendrith as of right now.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said there. I like a few of those guys actually as well. So for me, just looking at it, the guys I like, so Danny Willett, who I talked about earlier, I can get with you on Pendrith. I think he's nice. Him and Hadwin both go off early. I like that about them. And then the one guy that we've been sort of talking about coming into this swing season, Chad Ramey. I know Buckley's there and has the Vegas odds to go with it, but we like Chad Ramey all these other events where they were slightly stronger. This one's obviously weaker, but if we liked him there, even with the price bump, we shouldn't be scared of him. So Snyder, any thoughts? What are your thoughts up here on this range? Ramey's particularly, and then the rest of the range.
Yeah, for like Chad Ramey, we were looking at him in as a value play. He had generally been priced in that 6K range. I mean, he's that Corn Ferry guy we had been targeting. He paid off well for us there. He finished 14th in his last event, shot 15 under, hit 80% of his greens there. So I definitely could go back to him there. I like that. Hayden Buckley, I'm not sure how much steam he's actually going to get. I mean, people that click on his game log, I mean, they're going to see an 8th and a 4th in his last 2 events. That could definitely drive up his ownership as well as the Vegas odds as well. So I'm going to have to watch his ownership there to see where he gets. I don't mind him there. Adam Hadwin's a guy that's kind of riding a little bit of a heater here. Had a rough 2021, but he's bounced back in these last 2 events. Went 45th and 6th last week. He had 4 straight rounds of 68 or better, shot 18 under in that event. So I think he's got the firepower it needed here in this type of event. And that Taylor Pendrith, yeah, he's a guy we were high on ever since he's came off that Corn Ferry Tour. He's probably one of the most talented golfers in the field, at least for the younger guys concerned. I could definitely see him picking off one of these weaker type events. I mean, he's been great off the tee. The thing that's been holding him back so far has been that approach play. I think if he can get that figured out, I mean, the rest of his game's been pretty rock solid. It just comes down to that iron game. But looking at this, my main guys is probably going to be Chad Ramey and then possibly either Pendrith or Buckley. And I need to look more into Hadwin, but I definitely don't mind him coming off that 2 good event stretch.
Yeah, one thing I like about Hadwin, again, talk about momentum, talking about riding it. It's definitely a thing. We talk about it all the time, the jokes about hot streaks and things like that we have over at RPS always gets brought up. I just think he already is one of the best putters in the field. We know that. So can he putt enough? We don't know if it's going to be this week, but can he putt enough? Yes. The answer is yes. Long term, you go take a strong sample size. He's a great putter. So I think that makes sense with Hadwin. You go the shorter par 4s. He's, top 15 in the last 50 rounds. And then he hits the most fairways of anybody in this range. Chad Ramey is actually right behind him. So Hadwin, Ramey, Willett, for me, I do love Taylor Pendrith as a player, like Uncle T said. So I'm on him, but man, it might only be in wave stacks and stuff, because the only thing I worry about is to what you said there, Snyder, the approach play. It's crazy enough, the story about Taylor Pendrith, I don't think he is still, but he was Corey Connor's roommate for a while. He's, fellow Canadian, the boys, they're always together. And man, how does that not work? Like, how does that work? You're chilling with Corey Connors 24/7. The guy's basically the Canadian Morikawa when it comes to approach play, and it's the worst part of your game. Like, get out with your boy. I mean, if my buddy can eat good and I can go up with him, we can eat together, we can have some good eats. I'm going to work on it like him. This guy should be out with his guy, Corey Connors, working on that approach game, because that's the only thing he needs to dial it in. So I'm not sure if he's going to have enough here, but for me, Ramey, Hadwin, Willett, lock it up. 8,900 down to 8K. Snyder, I'll kick it right back to you. We got David Lipsky at the bottom, all the way up to Thomas Dietrich at 8,900. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, a few guys I'm looking at in this range. I'm going to first look at my guy, Sahith Theegala. He kind of busted for us at the Shriners, but I have no problem going right back to him. He still hit 80% of his greens in that event. I mean, it just came down to that terrible flat stick, but I think he can bounce back well for us. He was 8th at the Sanderson Farms events before that, so I like him in this weaker type of field. I hope people get off him after that last event. A guy I like targeting in these type of events is Scott Stallings. He does really well in these weaker type events, short tracks. Finished 28th and 18th in his last 2 trips here. He flashed for some upside at the Fortnite too, finishing 6th. So I can go back to him. Denny McCarthy, it's been up and down recently with him. He's had a couple of good finishes of 17th or better, but it's been hitting the ball. He's been good. He's hit 83% of his greens at the Shriners, and then he hit 70% plus in 4 of his last 5 events. If he can just get that putter rolling, Pierre, I definitely like his upside here too in that price range. A guy that this event suits to a T is Ryan Armour here. He plays really well at this event. He's got 2 top 10s in his last 2 starts here. I mean, the price tag looks really good for him. I mean, some people could look to avoid him though due to his recent finishes, but I still like him here. I mean, mainly I'm going to be pretty tight on this 8K range. It's mainly going to be Sahith for me, Ryan Armour, and then one of McCarthy or Stallings.
Yeah, balls of steel going back to Sahith. The guy's got the talent. It's just like, I think there's another guy there that's nearby that I think could do a little bit more. Uncle T, what do you got in this range? And then I'll talk about that.
Yeah, like those calls by Schneider. Him and I have been on Sahith quite a bit recently, and again, I'm not going to hold that one event against him. So really like him. I think he's got upside at that price tag. I agree with the Stallings and McCarthy take. I'm similar to Schneider as well. I am going to choose between one or the other. I'm not playing both. The one guy he didn't mention that I like is Stephen Yeager in this range, $8,400. Really like him. I think he's going to come in. This is a range too, guys, that I think we can get some leverage on ownership if we choose so. I don't like the range overall that well because of how I'm probably, again, going to maybe dip down into our 7K range where there's plenty of plays. But I do like Stephen Yeager and Ryan Armour. Again, Schneider mentioned it. He's in the same mold as the Brennan Todd, the Brian Gaze, the last 2 winners of this event. Very similar type of a golfer. Slow and steady, hits it in the fairway. Don't have to be long, can get hot with the putter. I mean, it's the same kind of mold, and that's why we've seen a couple top 10s out of him here the last couple of trips. It, of course, suits him fine. As far as the other guys in this range, like Bramlett, Higo, Lipsky, I don't really have any interest in them. So I'm going with like Sahith. I like Stephen Yeager and Armour, and then I may choose between, again, Stallings and McCarthy. But this is a range, though, I do think that you could get some leverage, though, ownership-wise, if you choose so.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing that. You nailed it, Uncle T. That's exactly where I'm going with it. I want to talk about it real quick, but this is what happens, right? And then people will say, oh, you playing everybody. No, remember what I just said? I'm playing Ramey, Hadwin, Willett in the 9K. That's it. At the top, I'm playing Power and one other guy. That's it. Likely, it could be Mito, it could be Bazudenhout, but it's not going to be Reed or Fitzpatrick. So I got 4 or 5 guys so far. So when I name a bunch of dudes here, it just is what it is. But interestingly enough, I like Guido quite a bit. That's the guy I like. If you look at Guido in the middle at 8,700, quite the middle, but he's up at near the top. 8th in approach, last 50, 21st, the shorter par 4s, 10th 20th in putting. And then the guys around him, 10th overall is where he comes in for me. But Scott Stallings, who you guys mentioned, like him, McCarthy makes sense. Steven Yeager and Bramlett, both two guys that we play, a lot, right? Yeager was number one coming in off the Corn Ferry Tour with the points. Just doesn't get enough respect. A guy that can definitely show up at this course. And how can you not like Ryan Armour at 8,100? Like you said, there's another guy down the board a little bit, about 1,000 cheaper. That's basically the same guy for cheaper. But at 8,100, I'm not going to leave Ryan Armour alone. I think it's the perfect spot. Again, you talked about it. It just fits the mold, Snyder. The guys that won, Todd, Steele, Gay, all these types of guys that do well here, won here, are all the guys that you want to play. This is just what he fits. So I do like him quite a bit. And that's why I'm heavy on the 8K range. And Uncle T, like you mentioned it, I think a lot more people will go a little bit more stars and scrubs, or at least using more of these guys at the top. And the 8K range often goes overlooked. So I got no problem playing 2 or 3 guys from this range in a lineup just to get unique and have firepower. A lot of these guys in the 8K range can win this tournament. I bet Guido. I wouldn't mind. I know some guys out there have bets on Armour. I didn't personally bet him because as far as a closer goes, I don't see it very often. But again, a great DFS play at 8,100. And then you got other guys that could definitely win. Steven Yeager, Bramlett, Higo, all these guys can close the door. Even Tigala, like you mentioned, he's not going to, I don't think he can close the door, but at 8,800, he's a great play. So I do think all these guys make sense. Snyder, let's move to the 7K range and let's just do 7.5K up to 7,900. It's not a huge range, but at least you can pick 2 or 3 guys in there. And then Uncle T, I'll kick it to you right after that. Snyder, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got a couple guys right here. I guess I have them all listed. I don't know what their prices are, but I think the top guys are the higher ones. Mark Hubbard, I mean, we've been riding this guy for quite a while now. He's been one of our favorite value plays to end the season and to start this new season. He's done really well for us. He's made his last 7 cuts. He's splashed in a few, like 3 top 20s for us as well, showing some upside for that 7K range. I like that. Knox is a guy. He's picking up some steam. Looks to be a solid value target here. He has great course history here, 16th and 11th in his last 2 starts. Great course setup for him. Shorter off the tee box too, but he hits a high number of greens in regulation. I think that's the only guys above 7.5 that I like in this range. I have quite a few below 7.5, so I'll be back for those guys.
Yeah, that's perfect. Uncle T, what do you got up here?
Yeah, I got one of my favorite plays in this range, and I don't think Schneider mentioned him. So 7,900 Nick Hardy. Really like this guy. I believe that, in my opinion, he's one of the 2 or 3 best value guys on my board this week anyway. I may be wrong about that, but I would have interest in him if he was maybe in that low to mid 8K range. He's probably going to make a core play for me. I'm not really sure at this point. Check in tomorrow and make sure you check out our tiers in our core section. But really like this guy. His ball striking has been really good lately. And, his irons have been good. I think he fits the mold of this type of a track to contend. And wouldn't be a bit surprised at 7,900 if this guy, guys, I think he can top 10 easily here. I really do. He's got upside at that price tag. So one of my favorite players on the whole board is Nick Hardy. Going down a little bit, I'm like Schneider. I don't have as much interest in this higher 7K range. Russell Knox obviously is a good course fit here, but I'm showing him along with Fitzpatrick and who was the other guy? I know Lebiota that we'll talk to you about here in a minute, and Hadwin. I think those are 4 or 5 of the more higher, owned guys of the week. So
what's the Hardy's range coming in at? What's
I'm seeing Hardy at around 9 or 10%, which
nice.
I'm very happy. If he stays there, I'll be extremely happy. So, but the Knox thing, I'm not sure. I want to get Tambo. I know Schneider, you mentioned him. Tambo, I want to get your thoughts. I'm wanting to maybe fade, not because he's not a good play. I just feel like in this range, in this type of a field, it's different. I got a different feel on ownership stuff when you're in this type of a tournament, in my opinion. I don't want to eat a ton of these high priced guys, because if they bust, if you grab a couple of these guys and they do bust and miss the cut or what have you, I just think you're screwed. So I'm probably going to take right now a fade approach with Russell Knox, but it's not because I don't think he's a good player, good course fit. I just think I may go elsewhere to get some leverage. Again, I mentioned Hank Lebiota. Don't mind him here. He's one of the few that has a little bit of course history here, isn't he? I believe so. 16th and a third. Is that right, Schneider? Am I looking at that right? Pretty. On Hank, big Hank the Tank.
Yeah, I was going to hit on him as we got down there. He's got good course history here for sure.
Yeah, and again, he's going to carry some ownership too. So if I have to choose between one of the two, I'm definitely obviously not going to go on both, but I'll side with Lebiota, who might have a little bit less ownership. But similar to Tambo, I don't have a whole lot of guys up in this top 7K range. Hardy, Lebiota, and that's probably it. I know Smalley's getting a little attention, and I'll have to look a little bit more into him, but I'll let you get in there, Tambo, and get your thoughts.
Yeah, I do like a little Alex Smalley, but I've been playing him for a while. I like him, betting him at some of these ridiculous odds. Some tournaments had him at 500 to 1, and you get him with a top 5 each way and a great top 20 number. Not expecting him to win, but just, having the guy that could go out and go low. A lot of Monday Qs, things like that, where you've seen him get in and just go extremely low, 6 birdies, an eagle, bogey free, that type of thing. And that's what we want in tournaments like this. The wind can obviously play a factor, so we'll have to see. What do you got, Uncle T, for ownership when it comes to Mark Hubbard? Because Hardy could be an elite pivot there, and that's what I want to ask. But what are you seeing on Hubbard right now? Because feels like he's getting mentioned a lot. I definitely like him, but what do you got for ownership on Mark Hubbard?
Yeah, I'm seeing them both very similar as of right now. It could change, obviously, but the last ownership I saw on him was 10%. So he's right around that same price range or ownership range as Hardy. So I like the Hubbard call too. I'm just going to side with Hardy.
You can always play both. I was going to say that. That's sometimes what I'll do when a lot of people are deciding, but you can also definitely set up a group where you just put at most one. And so you do something like that, or you could set it up. Hey, listen, you guys both mentioned, this is a strategy that I go on sometimes about, as far as groups are concerned. My guy, Jay Steele, always loves the groups. And I talk about this, but you guys both said the same thing, right? And I'm going to say the same thing too. I don't love this upper 7K range. So you can make it so that, listen, if I do land in this range, I'm only going to land on one of Hardy, Hubbard, or Knox, and you can set up certain sets. So let's say you've got, you're building 150 lineups and you want to build 100 that way, then go ahead. And then you just have it so only if you even get one of those guys, you only get one of them. The second thing you can do is set it up so that you set up like 20 lineups in your 150 where you get 2 of the 3 and you force them in so that you get 2 of those 3 in there. And that's another way to get different, where most people are trying to do what you just did on your previous 100 and move off of one of those guys in that range. You're going the complete opposite route and saying, listen, I'm going to play 2 of these guys together, and you won't always get Knox. So you do, to Uncle T's point, end up fading Knox. And for some cases, it's for Hardy and Smalley lineups or something, or Hardy and Hubbard lineups and things like that, where you've just got this upper 7K range pinpointed to where you're different than most of the field where they're landing. So I think Knox makes sense. He's not quite the 7K or $6,500 guy that's chalk where you're like, oh, that's horrible. He kind of is priced poorly. It just, when people miss, this is what I hate. Guys like Knox will come in at 18% or something. He'll miss the cut, and then everyone says, oh, I knew Knox chalk was terrible. But he didn't miss the cut because he was 18% on DraftKings.com. He just had a shitty week. You could still have your take, go into the week, play the guy, and he just doesn't play good. That happens to a lot of guys. So that's how I like to set up a little bit differently, when I'm doing that stuff. And that's just one way I would go about handling this upper 7K range. Let's move in, though. Let's go Austin Eck Goat. Austin Eck wrote, I got the Goats hat on tonight, by the way. But if you go with Austin Eck wrote here down to 7K range, Snyder, you said you like a few more guys down here. I certainly like a lot. What do you like down in this range?
Yeah, I've got a handful of guys I'm looking at down here. I'll start off with Hank the Tank. He's been struggling as of late, but I see this as a great bounce back spot for him. I mean, he was playing just great golf. He had 3 straight top 10s before having to withdraw at that event at the 3M Open. And since, it's never been the same since. I mean, he did play some good golf at the Shriners, shooting 72-68. He looked a lot better in that 68 second round, and he nearly missed the cut. So I think he might have found something there, and he's got great course history here, going 16th and 3rd. So I'm looking to jump back on the Hank the Tank wagon this week, so I'll be on him. Grayson Sixx, the guy we've been rostering over the past couple of months too. He's made 5 of 6 cuts. He had a 15th at the Barracuda. He holds really good birdie upside here. I think that's going to be needed as well. So he's won a couple times on the Korn Ferry Tour this year also, so I don't mind going to him in this watered down type of event. Aaron Rise, a guy from the Euro Tour I've had interest in this year. He's kind of struggled recently in his PGA events, but he did finish 25th in his last Euro event. Don't mind going to him. Matthew Neesmith's kind of interesting for GPPs. I think he's got really good, strong ball striking upside, but he does struggle with the putter as well. So he's one of those guys that needs to get hot with the putter, and he could definitely rack up some birdies here if he does. Riley, he's one of those guys that was talked up quite a bit coming off the Corn Ferry Tour. Hasn't really done much of it yet. I think he's a good solid value target though in this week event. He made 21 birdies at the Shriners in his last event, really showing that good birdie upside needed at the low 7Ks. Bo Hoag's another guy I've been on quite a bit. He's flashed some upside too. Finished 16th at the 3M and 11th at the Barbasol. So I really like the price tag for him and his upside here. So those are the guys I'm mainly looking at. I like Hank the Tank probably the best in this lower range, and then probably Bo Hoag is my second guy with Grayson Sixx right there too, I guess.
Yeah, I like a lot of those calls actually. Grayson Sixx, I'm glad you brought him up. He's a guy I'm certainly on this week. Again, just talking about some of the guys that you see up in that 9K range or upper 8K range, and I'm like, it could be him. People just don't know enough about him, so they won't think of that, and that's why he's priced down here. So I think he makes a lot of sense at 7,400. Uncle T talked to me about this same range, 7,500 down to 7K straight.
Yeah, I mentioned Big Hank in the last segment, and I thought we were 75 and above, so I included the 75. So clearly,
listen to Uncle T getting all technical. Yeah, we did say that, but I said 75 to 79, and now I said 75 to 7. In case you want to double mention it,
mention it. I'm going to double down on Big Hank.
Yeah, there you go. The people are listening for the double mentions, Uncle T. That means it's a lock. They're getting your core real quick.
And then I heard my man Snyder likes him a little bit too, so that it makes it even better. So yeah, definitely like Hank. But going down, I'm going to make it 3 for 3 on Grayson Sixx. He's again, you guys mentioned he's a guy we've been on a little bit. He's played a ton of golf since the beginning of the summer, so he's the version of Sung J M, right? Just plays every week for the most part. He's got a nice looking mustache, which I like. You know what I mean, guys? It's maybe a mustache narrative for Uncle T. So definitely like some Grayson Sixx. I don't mind the Aaron Rye call, Schneider, but I'm going to go down a couple, or actually $100 less than that. Harry Hall, I don't know how much you guys know about him. He's the Englishman. He's got like what I would call for sure boomer bust upside. He's got a lot of missed cuts, but when he contends, he really contends. Got 3 top 10s, I think, going back maybe his last 8 events or so. I don't know how updated our things are here for the Euro stuff, but really like some Harry Hall at this price. I mean, if he's going to have, some top 10 upside, and especially in a field like this, like we keep talking, I know that's something that we've all kind of mentioned quite a few times tonight, but you got to factor that in. In this type of a field, you got to look at whether or not guys are going to contend, probably more likely to contend. Clearly, that's going to be the case. But a guy like Harry Hall down here at 70, what was it? 7,200.
Yeah, he did finish 8th at the Shriners too, so he's definitely got that upside. I like that call.
Yeah, Harry Hall. So I do like him quite a bit. Another guy you mentioned, I think, was Bo Hoag. I like him, but going up a little bit more, Brian Stewart. He's a guy that's been not as hot recently. He's been not playing his best golf, but I really like targeting him again in these tournaments that you don't need to hit the ball far, and it's a shorter track, that type of thing. Brian Stewart at 7,100, I feel like he's one of the better value plays that you can have. Davis Riley, don't mind him, even though he's been, not real hot lately. Again, we're just trying to hang our hat on something down here. Obviously, you got the past champ and Brian Gay in here. He's got a first and a third. It's hard to overlook that. I'm only seeing about 7 or 8% ownership. Not sure if people will strictly use course history as far as a judgment on Brian Gay. I probably won't go there, but I can definitely see it. And the only other guy I'll mention all the way down at 7K, guys, that also has good course history is Kramer Hickok. He's got an 8th and a 15th. Again, probably won't go there, but definitely can see it.
Yeah, Hickok, man. We talked about him a little bit. Kenny mentioned him with the playoff with Harris English, the guy they said has no fire. And then he goes out and plays 8 holes, stomps on the young guy's throat and says, I'm taking 2 wins this season. Too bad, kid. You get yours later on. So, yeah, I could get behind that. I think Stewart is the best call down there, regardless of ownership. He just too much sense. Like, it makes too much sense. You think about who I mentioned earlier, Ryan Armour. This is the guy who says $1,000 cheaper. It is basically the same guy. Yeah. If you look at all the stats across the board, he rates out extremely well. I know there's other guys, so I wouldn't go crazy with it. Like I like a spot like this where lots are saying, oh, it's an absolute lock. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go all in on the guy. I know the stats line up. You look at fairways gained first over the last 50 rounds. He's top 7 in both the shorter par 4s. He's 7th in putting. He's 25 or 27th or something in approach over the last 50. So I get it. I'm just saying there's other guys who you guys mentioned in this range. We talked about Sig. I like Neesmith is a guy I actually like quite a bit. The thing about this guy, fairways, greens, everything that you want. And then you have to hope he gets the opportunities. He's not a great putter, but it's not, I'm never going to compare him to Mito. Mito's an extremely crazy, good young talent, the next Chilean sensation, Neiman's boy, all these factors that we know plenty about and can bring up. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that's why the price is factored in. That's why one is 10.5 and one is 7,300. When you look at the stats over a decent sample size, Neesmith has very similar numbers and is just as bad with the putter. I'm not saying you're getting the same guy for this, the cheaper price, but I'm just saying that's why I'll take some shots on him, because there is risk involved and there's potential upside involved. You mentioned it earlier too. I brought this one up, Uncle T, last night with Kenny, is that you go back to Matt Fitzpatrick and his love of the RBC heritage at Harbortown. Now, he got fourth recently in 2021. Before that, actually being his favorite course, which is what Fitzpatrick says about Harbortown, he actually didn't have the best results. He had like a 14th, a 17th, and then missed cuts and everything mixed in, but he loved the course. Neesmith got engaged there, really loves that course and has done well there, and that maybe that correlates and translates over. I just think he makes sense as a play down here. I know someone in the chat earlier mentioned Harry Hall's season. You guys mentioned him. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think he's a good play down there. And then 7,100 beyond Stewart, there's another Canadian, David Hearn. I think he's an interesting play here. I think Lahiri is interesting. You guys mentioned Riley. There's just a lot of guys. So let me ask you guys this. Can't name them all, can't go through them all, but Snyder, just talk to me about this. How many guys, and we're going to go there, so it's going to be a good segue, in the 6K range do you really have interest in before we name them? And then what type of roster construction are you thinking of for this week based on the fact that the 6K range, I think I can assume, may not be as appealing as some of these other guys we just talked about in the 7K range?
Yeah, I really only have interest in maybe like 3 to 4 guys in that 6K range. So I'm going to be looking to like mainly just put one or two of those 10K guys in there. And I don't mind going to a lot of these low 7K guys. And I really don't even mind leaving money on the table on this event. Like I'll probably set the optimizer. I'll run like 50 teams in that $5 contest just for fun this week. And I'll probably set the optimizer to leave up to like $800 on the table even. Because I think a lot of these guys have just as good as upside as the rest of them. They could be priced in that 9K all the way down to that 7K range. Some of these 7K guys, I think, have just as good a chance of top 10ing here than some of these 9K guys. So I really won't put much into leaving money on the table or not. I'll have to dial in what percentages of what the guys I want, and I'll just type in those percentages that I want, and I'll hit optimize, and whatever happens for money left over or whatnot, I'll monitor it a little bit and maybe tweak it if I need to. But I'm mainly just going to be looking to target like an even type build this week.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think I was going to set it at like 48.5 to 50, but I'm going to go 48.3 just so I can get my Fitzpatrick for Willett $1,700 on the table, so I can just literally leave that. But Uncle T, same question. Just talk to me real quick about the 6K range. Not your plays there yet. We're going to go there in a second, but just in general, you think you'll have at most one 6K guy? Would you use a couple of them? Are you going to go more stars and scrubs? Sounds like based on what you liked, a lot of these other ranges that you'll have at least some balance in there. But what are your thoughts on the 6K range as a whole when it comes to strategy this week?
Yeah, real quick, before I get to that, I really like the kind of correlation or point you made about, what you could really do is just put Fitzpatrick in your lineup without Willett, build it, and then just take it out and switch it. So I did that with actually a football lineup. I can't remember, it was a Showdown where, gosh, I can't remember it recently. The quarterback was in there and then all of a sudden he was out. So, we wanted to play the backup. So just build your lineup as if you're going to play the starter, right? And then get who you want in there, put the reliever in or the backup guy in, and then just leave that salary. But to answer the question on this range and about leaving salary, I'm definitely going to leave salary this week. I don't know that I'll go up quite as high as you, Tambo, to maybe leaving 15 or 1,700, right? Did you say 48.3 you were thinking about leaving?
I had to do 48.3 because the Fitzpatrick down to Willett play is the exact amount of money, but I do play a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, I'm like Snyder though. I don't mind $700, $800, $900 on the table. As far as the 7K range specifically, not going to have a ton of interest. Clearly, Vanderwalt down here at 6,900. Don't mind him. Adam Svensson, I think, Tambo, you and I have been on him a little bit recently. He's coming off a couple miscuts, not in the greatest form. I think I'll pass there. A couple guys I do like, Cameron Percy, Austin Cook. I kind of like them too a little bit. Austin Cook is a guy that, he's got a couple top 11 finishes back early September. Not, in pretty decent form. Don't mind him. Going down a little bit more, Vaughn Taylor. I don't think anybody mentioned Vaughn Taylor. Don't mind him a little bit. Feels like he's kind of cheap in this type of field, 6,800. And then the only other guy I'll mention is Kurt Kitayama. Don't know a ton about Big Kurt, but it feels like, he's a decent value as well down here. As far as overall construction question, Tambo, it's a good one. I think right now, again, I've got 3 builds right now. I may add a couple builds and get back up to my 5 or 6 builds by the time tonight rolls and finishes up. I'll probably like Schneider. I'd like to grab at least one of those 10K guys. If I do grab a second 10K guy, I'm definitely going to drop way down. I may go 2 10K guys and then may even go down and grab 4 7K guys if I'm able to do it, which I should be able to do it. Because that range, like we just talked about, we like several guys in there that have upside. So I don't even mind skipping the 8 and 9K range in a build just to maybe get a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's what I was sort of thinking too, right? I always do this, and I think, like I've said it plenty of times before, but for those that haven't listened in the past, it's one of those things where this type of setup, you got all these guys in the 6K range, especially in these weaker fields where people, this is my diamond in the rough play. I got this gem. This guy's going to crush. And guess what? They get it right. The guy does crush, but then they wonder what happened with their other 5 pieces because you know what? They were thinking it was their diamond in the rough, but they wouldn't go all in on it or they didn't play enough of it. So they only ended up, I took some risk on him, but I got him right, but I didn't get everybody else right. But they only put him in 2 or 3 lineups because they weren't fully committed to it. So that's all I'll say is if you do have someone down here, you've got a great feel on. If Dowie Vanderwalt is your guy, like you mentioned, I think it's a good play, actually. You can go to that, but commit to it. Maybe you set up, if you're 50 lineups like Snyder, maybe you put a minimum 10% so that at least 5 lineups. And I'm using, I just said about the 5 thing. That's on 150 I'm talking about when someone does 3 or 5 on 150. That's not the same number. 10% of 50 is 5. There's math. So there you go. So, a little lesson for everybody. I just think that's sort of how I look at it personally. But I think that's a great way to go about it. If you've got someone down here you like, commit to it and roll with it. I like the Vaughn Taylor call. I kind of like Camille Villegas. I think about him as more of this coastal track, really good on those shorter par 3s, can have the approach game at times. Got to see what he does with the rest of his game. Not the greatest putter, but not the worst either. So he could certainly pop. Chase Seifert is the guy that I really like down here. I like a couple guys quite a bit, but Chase Seifert by far, number 1 on the shorter par 4s. Top 20, 25 in approach, top 10, 15 in that range for fairways gained. And again, worry about the putter, but it's most certainly baked into his price at 6,600. Rattle off a couple more right quick. Johnson Wagner, Ben Martin, Ted Potter Jr. One thing I should have brought up earlier, one guy I didn't mention was at 7,400. Another Canadian. I always love bringing up the Canadians, but Nick Taylor. One reason I brought up him and what made me think of him was Ted Potter. Go ahead.
Brought him up.
Yeah. No, I said I should have brought him up.
I like him.
Canadian. But what made me think of him, Uncle T, was I just mentioned Ted Potter Jr. And the only correlation that I can come to with this is Pebble Beach, AT&T Pro-Am, coastal, wind, go low type of course, all these factors. And these guys are doing it in much stronger fields. I mean, TPJ beating Dustin Johnson heads up in the final round to go and ship that thing is something else. So again, long shot, high risk, everything going with it, but could be high reward. So I don't mind someone like him down below. And then Nick Taylor up at 7,400, who I skipped over. Don't hate your Kurt Kitayama call, though, Uncle T. Snyder, what do you got down in this range?
Hey, Tambo, real quick, if I can, just because it's on the same topic before we go back to Snyder. While you were talking, I was trying to put in 2 10K guys. So say we put in Power and Pereira, or even Power and Bezuidenhout, and we add in a Stewart, and I like Harry Hall. Like if you somehow put them 4 in, you still have 7,500 for 2 guys. So you could even go down the lower 7K, and then you might be able to grab that 8K guy, maybe a Ryan Armour or somebody like that in the low 8Ks, depending on how far down you go. So I do think it's definitely a good construction thought process, and it's something that maybe not many people will do.
Yeah, definitely can do that. Like I said, there's a lot of options that you can use here. I just think it depends on your strategy. Like I said, I personally like that 8K range quite a bit. So while you could fit one in that build, I think with going with the 210K guys, to me, it's just a little bit of an overextension. If it gets there, so be it. But I'm happy to just go a little bit off that route and just go to a little more balance. But I'm glad to see that it can work, and it's good to know for everybody out there. So I like that. Snyder, what about you down in the 6K range? Where are you at with these guys?
Yeah, I don't have much down here, but a couple guys I'm looking at. Camilo Villegas. I don't know how to say his damn name.
Camilo.
I know Hoop and AP always avoid him just because they don't want to say his name.
Well, we know Hoop don't want to say his name. Hoop going to Chipotle, and he don't want to talk about that for nothing. So we won't bring that up again. But yeah, you're right. And then the Cheerio, what did he say? The churros? He said churros.
I missed that one. Yeah,
I missed that one, but I heard the Chipotle one.
Yeah, Chipotle. Go ahead though. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Camilo Villegas.
Yeah, he's been playing well on these tougher fields. Not great, but just well, average enough, making cuts. He's been good ball striking. He's another guy that's shorter off the tee that I think could excel on a course like this. And in a weaker type of field, I wouldn't be surprised if he shot, top 15 or so here. So I like him. I think Vaughn Taylor is kind of mispriced for his talent level being down here in this range versus some of these other guys. He did finish 40th here last year. Like him. JJ Spawn's been on a guy I've been kind of looking to at times as a value punt guy. Back-to-back made cuts for him, improving each week. I got to go to my guy, Scott Gutschke. He's an Omaha, Nebraska guy here. He's playing in the event. He made the cut, the Fortinet, and he has a solid short game, so I don't mind punting to him, but that's about it for me in this range. I mean, it'll mainly be Camilo or Vaughn Taylor mainly for me.
Jeez, man, just going Scott. That Scott guy you just mentioned is probably one of the only guys. There's a lot of guys people haven't heard of in the field, but that's one of the guys I definitely have no information on. So
yeah, he's from here, hometown here in Nebraska. So
hometown hero for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I like some conviction. Like I said, make sure you get a good number. Get a good share of them. Don't just put them in one lineup to take your hometown guy. Get them in 5 or 6. Any other final thoughts or anything else you want to talk about, Uncle T, here for this slate?
No, not really. I think we pretty much covered it as best we could as far as, again, people to watch. And again, to go deep down in that lower than 6,500 and under, I just don't think you want to be down there, So we're not going to just recommend guys just to get them in your thought process and player pool. If we're not playing them, I'm not, and Tambo, you and I mentioned this before, I'm not going to mention guys that I'm not going to play. You know what I mean? Even if I have a few lineups, I'll tell you, like on the one where we had, Stallings or McCarthy, things like that, we could make a decision late, but I'm not going to recommend 10, 15 guys that I'm not playing. But no, it's going to be a fun week. You want to get into you want to try to get into a winner segment where we do a winner and then maybe a long shot? How you want to do it?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. I don't know if you're ready to go. If you want to start
Schneider's ready.
Snyder. So we're going to do this. We'll do this and we'll start setting this up for every Tuesday show. And I'm just going to talk a little bit to buy Snyder some time because I know he's over there thinking damn, this came at me quick. So I'll give him a little time. But what we will do, and we have done this on the shows in the past, so I kind of like going back to it. We'll go off with a winner for the tournament. Doesn't matter the price. Don't need to have the odds in front of you and just talk about it so we can roll through it. And then also roll out with a long shot or value pick that you think could take it down as well. Snyder, you're up. Gave you some time.
For my guy to win it, I'm going to go with Seamus Power to come through on another win, another type of event, weaker type of event like this. He ranks well across the board stats-wise. I love his game here. For my longer shot, I'm going to roll the Grayson Sixx. 50-1. I like his upside here. I've talked about him in that range. He's a great, solid guy. He's holding some good birdie upside. I think he's got experience winning. He's won a couple times on the Corn Ferry this year already, so I think he can do it here and watered down type of Corn Ferry event. Yeah,
love the power call, especially the long shots there too. I'm with you on Sig. Uncle T, go to you, and then I'll answer some of the questions right quick in the chat, and maybe we'll stay just 1 minute longer. Go ahead, Uncle T.
Yeah, Schneider stole my power. So I'm gonna go down to not Danny Willett. I'm gonna go down to where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go Adam Hadwin. I like Adam Hadwin this week. I was gonna go with power, but I'm gonna drop a little bit down Adam Hadwin, 40-1 will be my pick to win it. Going down a little bit lower, my longer shot, I'm going with Hank Lebioda, Big Hank the Tank, 60-1 I'm seeing right now on DK Sportsbook. So we'll go with Big Hank. Maybe he can get a win this week.
Yeah, he stole the power from me as well. I did like that call for sure. Definitely bet him this week. I can roll out Guido at 50. I know someone talked about it earlier in the chat about losing his game, been awful, but 17th at the Alfred Dunhill wasn't too bad when we just talked about Danny Willett winning it. And, the guy just has too much firepower and upside. And we talk about some of the other guys with the odds they're at this week. I'll take the shot with a guy like Guido, young guy, up and comer. Again, a lot of value here, a lot of opportunity for a guy like him, amongst others, of course, but in general. And then my long shot actually is going to be the guy I hinted at earlier and talked a little bit about was Matthew Neesmith, 175-1. Like I said, it's a long shot, but there was a lot of similarities, things that I brought up. Not saying he was a Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's definitely not, but just an example of sort of the same stats over the same long term and all those factors. So I like him at 175. Going through some of the questions we just missed at the end, just want to throw them out there. We saw, what about Graham Mcdowell? Because we did talk about guys at coastal courses. And hey, most certainly the guy. I feel like last time he won, I can't remember what it was, the Corrales or something like that, where he got it done at one of these coastal courses where he shipped it. It was kind of felt like a last hurrah, but you guys have any thoughts? Snyder, I'll kick it to you on Graham Mcdowell. Any love there?
McDowell, I don't really have much interest in him. I mean, he doesn't rank well across the board stats-wise. His recent forms hasn't really been that good. He did made the cut, finally finished 71st at the Shriners, but before then, it's a lot of MCs. So, I mean, he did finish 4th at the Corrales Punta Cana, which he showed some upside there. I mean, that was mainly due to, I think he was like hot with the putter there. But yeah, the putter has just been bad the last 4 events. I mean, the iron play has been bad for most of the year. So I just don't think I could get to that spot. I don't know. You guys might like him.
Well, I don't love him, but like the thing is, so the 4th at the Corrales was following up a missed cut, but the previous year to that in 19, he shipped it. That's what I was saying. That's where he got his W, and he's done well at Sony and places like that. So I know the coastal course thing pops up for me. Like I said, something like that. I like it for the narrative stuff. That's why I brought up with a guy like TPJ where it's priced in and with guys like that. But, it's tough. It makes it harder to go to. He's right there in that same range as Nick Taylor. I just feel like Nick Taylor is still a young up-and-comer that has more upside than people might think in the ratings, the stats, the long-term, the strength of field, all of that. Versus Graham Mcdowell, I wouldn't say he's done because it's golf. Anybody can show up at any given time. We've seen plenty of what's quote-unquote older dudes show up and ship tournaments. It's just like you said, when you've got everything that's going on lately with them, and I haven't seen much out of them, that's where I struggle to get there with all the other plays around him. Uncle T, any thoughts on a 1 Graham McDowell?
Yeah, not for me this week. I get it, but he's right there next to my guy, Harry Hall, right? They're the same price. I'm probably going to use him quite a bit. I get it, though. I mean, if you want to take a shot, I don't play enough lineups. I told you what I'm doing. I've got 3 right now. I might add 2 lineups to make 5, 5 builds for me this week. If you were MMEing and making multiple lineups or more than me, for sure, I could definitely see him, putting him in your player pool, but I can't get there.
And then someone said Sean O'Hare. Any love for that? Anybody?
Is it 2008?
Yeah.
2009, I might have some interest in Mr. O'Hare, but 2021, no, thank you.
Yeah, not any love for me for Sean O'Hare. Anything else that you guys want to talk about, Snyder, before we get out of here? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of use this as more fun. I mean, definitely don't allocate too much of your bankroll in an event like this. I mean, we got such better spots to put it in. We got NBA firing up now. We got NFL coming up this weekend. College football this weekend. MLB World Series just started today. I mean, there's plenty more spots. I mean, just use this as like a fun throw in. If you want to throw in like 50 lineups in that $5 like I'm doing for fun, or throw in 3 to 5 lineups in like a 3 max or like that $15 tournament or whatever they got going on, just throw it in there to have some fun. That's what I'm using this more as, just as a fun event, but nothing too crazy for me.
Yeah, I like that call. Uncle T, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, just good luck this week to everybody. Appreciate the people out in the chat listening and watching us again tonight. Again, we'll be here now on Tuesday nights for the foreseeable future until we get through this fall swing. But no, we've got a ton of coverage. Obviously, the NFL in full swing. We've got our gyms articles. I've got 3 of them that'll be up on the site Thursday morning this week. I know Schneider puts a few of them together. So, yeah, just a ton of content. We appreciate everybody listening and watching.
Yeah, again, appreciate all you guys. We'll have the show every Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern time. We're going to have this through the swing season. When we get back to regular season, it'll go back to a Tuesday and Wednesday show where we add everything going on over at Run Pure Sports. Again, sign up using promo code RPS NBA 15. I know not everyone can catch this live tonight, sort of spur of the moment, but like I said, we're setting this up so that you guys know for going forward. Hit the like button, subscribe, be sure to tune in. There's a lot of content going on. Again, that promo code RPS NBA 15 gets you 15% off for life. Every sport, baseball playoffs are going on. We've got NBA getting into full swing, NFL every week, all the other sports that are going on, MMA, soccer, tennis, you name it, crushing. The Discord, worth the price of admission alone. So definitely check that out. Again, hit the like button and subscribe. Other than that, thank you guys and good luck.